Welcome to this .NET MAUI Polar and Radar Charts control tutorial. The Syncfusion .NET MAUI Polar Chart is utilized to visualize and compare diverse data through two-dimensional charts representing three or more quantitative variables on axes starting from the same point. In this video, I will show you how to add the chart control to .NET MAUI application, both the Polar Line and Area series. You'll see how to populate data in the series, add a title, customize the grid line style, and enable features such as legends, tooltips, and markers. Before you begin, ensure you have installed the latest version of Visual Studio 2022 with the required .NET MAUI workload. You should also have one of the .NET SDKs installed on your machine. After installing the necessary tools, launch Visual Studio 2022. And click Create a New Project in the dashboard. From the list of project templates, select the .NET MAUI application and enter the project name and location. Next, create a project with the .NET 8.0 framework. Now, the default application is ready to use. Before moving forward, let me take a quick detour to set up the application's environment. I selected the Android emulators from this list to see the output in the Pixel 5 emulator. Next, I'll run the application to show you the default output. The application compiles the default code in a few seconds. The application's home page is displayed. Next, to incorporate the Polar Chart control into this application, I need to install the Syncfusion MAUI Charts NuGet package. So I open the NuGet Package Manager and switch to the Browse tab. I search for the Syncfusion MAUI Charts package, select it, and install it in my project. After the package is installed, I need to register the handler for the Syncfusion core to map the cross-platform control API to the native View API. I open the MAUI program CS file and add the Syncfusion MAUI core hosting namespace. Then, I register the Syncfusion core handler by adding the configure Syncfusion core method. Registering a trial license key is necessary to use Syncfusion MAUI controls. So I open the app.xaml CS file and add the register license method with the trial license key. To find out where to generate the key, please refer to the link in the description below. Next, I navigate to the main page XAML to initialize the control. I remove the default code from the content page section and import the Syncfusion MAUI Charts namespace. I initialize the Polar Chart control. In this example, I will show a MAUI Polar Chart to compare the growth of trees, flowers, and weeds, providing insight into their spatial distribution. To implement this with the MVVM pattern, first, I create a class named Model. I make this class public and define the fields direction, tree, flower, and weed with appropriate data types. Next, let me assign values to these fields. To do that, I create a ViewModel class. I make this class public and define the property called plant details of type observable collection of the MODA class. I add a constructor for the class. Inside this constructor, I add a data object with the fields direction, tree, flower, and weed to the plant details property. Once this is done, I navigate to the main page XAML file. I import the namespace of the view model and add a binding context to the content page. I access the data view model class here using the local XML namespace. Now I need to choose axes for this chart. It supports three types of chart axes in numerical, category, and date time. I define the primary axis property and add a category axis element to display the growth of the plants based on direction. Then, I define the secondary axis property and include a numerical axis to represent the growth of the plants based on numerical values. There are two types of polar charts, Polar Line Series and Polar Area Series. First, I will show the Line Series. I initialize the Polar Line Series and set its item source to plant details, X binding path to direction, and Y binding path to tree. To plot the flowers and weeds, I follow the same procedure, adjusting the Y binding path accordingly. Once the application is loaded, you can observe the polar lines drawn for the tree, flower, and weed. You might not know which line represents which type of plant. To fix this, let's add a legend to the chart. I will set the legend property and add a chart legend instance. In the first polar line series, I set label property as tree, and similarly label the others. Now you can see the legend for the polar chart, indicating which line represents each type of plant. To display the data points of the line series, I set the Show Data Labels property to true for all the polar line series. Once the application is loaded, I rotate the emulator horizontally, and then check that the data points are displayed. Before moving forward, I set the Show Data Labels property to false for all series. To render .NET MAUI radar chart, let me set the grid line type property to polygon. You will observe that the axis rendering style has changed. To display a title, I define the title property and include a label view. Then, I set the label text to the appropriate value and customize its font size, attributes, and horizontal text alignment. Look here, the title is displayed for the polar chart. To highlight the position of the data points, I set the Show Markers property to true. Once the application is loaded, you can see the marker points. To display information about a data point when it's tapped, I set the Enable Tooltip property to true. Once the application is loaded, tap any data point, and you will see the tooltip with the data points. Finally, I will show you the Polar Area Series chart type. For that, I replaced the Polar Line Series with the Polar Area Series in the first series and removed the other two line series. Now you can see that the area is filled in the chart. In this video, you learned how to add a Syncfusion .NET MAUI Polar Chart control to a .NET MAUI application. I demonstrated how to add Polar Line and Area Series, populate data in the series, add a title, customize the grid line style, and enable features such as legends, tooltips, and markers. To learn more about Polar Chart control features, check the documentation link in the description below. I have also included a link to check if you qualify for our community license, which gives you a free license key for our entire .NET MAUI control suite. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.